Welcome to the 2023-24 Premier League season. My name is Elliot Smith. You can block me on Twitter, Yankee Gunner. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our live stream. We did, I believe, no live streams last season, and we had a pretty good season. Now, technically, we have been accused of being a jinx in the past, and that jinx was associated with doing pre-match live streams. However, as you may notice, we are doing a pre-match live stream for the Manchester City game. So I think it is entirely possible that actually we are going to jinx them. Now we're going to find out, and we're going to do that with a couple of things. We are obviously going to talk a lot of transfer stuff. We will say goodbye to Harry Kane. We're going to play Sarah McLachlan's I Will Remember You. There will be a montage. It'll be a beautiful thing. No, we're just going to say bye, Felicia, and get him the hell out of the Premier League. Then we are going to talk the Caicedo stuff. We're going to talk through Arsenal rumors. David Ryan rumored not to be registered in time to be in the squad tomorrow. So we'll cover that. We'll look ahead to our game. We'll look ahead to City's game. We'll look ahead to the season. Here to do it now, you can find him on Twitter at Scott J. Willis. Hello, Scott.
Hey, you got the name right. How you doing? Yeehaw.
I had a training session with you this week to get it right.
I enjoyed the new music. We have just all sorts of new music going, right? There was the new music on the pod with you and Phil last, or I guess this morning that I listened to it. But yeah, so all sorts of stuff. You've been busy in the lab.
Yeah, I've been in the lab. I've been in the lab doing nothing while talented people like Paul, for example, who wrote that song, have been doing things in the lab. I do just want to reference an important point being made in the chat right now. And I hope if you're in the chat, you'll get some questions and comments in here. We will certainly go ahead and do some questions as the live stream carries on. But people making the important point, you can block me on X. Now, the problem is if I say into this mic, onto this internet, I am on X, the FBI might show up at my door and drag me out in front of my daughters and my wife. So I'm not going to say on the internet that I am on X. What is dead may never die, Scott. I am on Twitter, and that is where you should block me.
Yeah, I am also on Twitter, right? I mean, it is still very, very weird. Lots of people saying that we should shout out to a certain, people on our Discord.
Oh, we got to do this. We got to do this. And in fact, this needs its own thing. It needs its own thing. If you have followed our podcast for a while, you've heard Clive reference the Disco Boys. The Disco Boys are just people in our Discord. People, we'll throw quotes around that. This is a dynamic that I cannot fully explain. It is the internet. If it was the most internet it could be. We literally have a rival podcast of ours that started in our Discord, the Carpet Chat. You can check it out and then, continue to never check it out or continue to check it out. We love everybody equally, but love to the Disco Boys. If you are a patron, you can get in our Discord and see just why that may be the wrong choice for you, but you can certainly find out. Welcome to the new season, Scott. Manchester City, are we going to jinx them with the live stream today?
I hope so, right? I think that's the whole goal. And, we've been, nefariously planning this to try to trip them up to get this season off to the right spot.
Yeah, I think that's the plan. All right. Let's not waste any time. Let's not waste any time. Let's just get to a couple of critical things. And the first thing is, and I am so happy to get this up on the screen. Kane.
He got on the plane. He got on the plane.
He got on the plane. He got off the plane. Rumors of him wearing lederhosen have not been confirmed. It is possible, Scott, and I want to get your take on this, that Harry Kane could play for Bayern this weekend and win a trophy within 24 hours of having left Tottenham Hotspur. Your thoughts?
I think that this is very big of him. It's been really weird to see everybody talking down Bayern Munich. They're some tiny little club, which to be fair, everybody has turned down Bayern Munich except for Harry Kane so far this transfer window. But he has to go there to win. I think that's the only thing that's going to be possible for him. So I'll actually even maybe kind of root for him, even though I kind of have some Dortmund allegiances. But yeah, it won't be quite as weird to see him lift something and look happy in the white of Bayern Munich rather than the white of Tottenham Hotspur.
Yeah. And by the way, Paul, in the chat, the man who wrote the song you heard on the intro, thank you to Paul. And yes, the Germans should have just as difficult a time learning to understand him. In fact, Arsenal Gent on Twitter did a tweet because they did a stats tweet of Harry Kane's Premier League stats. So he did one of silly stats. And one of the stats, trophies, 0, number of penalties won for being England captain. One of the things, languages spoken, 0.5. I thought that was pretty funny. So Kane goes, let me just ask you this. how much of your American dollars would you pay to not face Bayern Munich in the knockout rounds or group stages of the Champions League this season?
I would probably be willing to throw a $20 bill into there just to help grease the wheels of, maybe they heat up a certain ball that isn't that one. So like when whoever's doing that draw can keep away from that one, right? That's how they do it in the NBA, right? They heat the balls so then which one is the one that you're supposed to avoid or the one you're
the juice balls.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, so moral of the story is let's just avoid that. Okay. I want to get to what is the nuttiest shit in the world right now. What the heck is going on with Moises Caicedo? So we actually almost didn't do this live stream because when Todd Bowley saw my Twitter thing that says charging through the midfield, it's in my Twitter description. He actually put 130 million bid on for me because he just thought I was a midfielder. Unfortunately, that move did not go through. My agent screwed it up. That can happen. What on earth is going on with the Moises Caicedo move?
Yeah, I have no idea. No, I've been readily informed that they freeze the balls. They don't heat the balls. So that's good to know. So yeah, thank you for keeping me on top of things. Honestly, like, so I woke up to the Caicedo news and like, well, I went to bed and, it's like, oh, Caicedo's to Liverpool. It's on. We saw Jurgen Klopp with the big grin on his face talking about it, how excited he is. I think we all kind of freaked out a little bit to think about Liverpool with an actual, I don't know if Caicedo is a full DM, but he is a well-rounded midfielder who is very good at ball winning. I think that's more like how I would describe Caicedo. I think he's very much that, he's a good midfielder who can play as a 6, but also could be an 8, be able to be a very versatile player who I really, really, really liked. When Arsenal were linked with him, there was the kind of the internal debate that went around, do I want him? Do I want Rice? Being able to, I ended up being very, very happy with Rice, and I'm very happy with that. But I was not thrilled with him going to Liverpool. So is it official that he's going to Chelsea? I've been a little bit offline for the last hour, or is it still unknown? Have we got an official? Here we go.
Who can say?
I
mean, Klopp announced Caicedo was done, and then Caicedo's like, nah, I'm going to Chelsea. I mean, look, we know that Caicedo grew up in very difficult circumstances economically, that he needs to and wants to take care of his family. And my take on this,
right? Yeah, I'm never going to begrudge a player, right? Never,
right,
ever,
for trying to set themselves up. So my guess is that Chelsea has made him an offer he cannot refuse. I have to ask you this though: do you have a preferred destination for him? Because both of these clubs probably really need him, and either of these clubs with him become kind of interesting this season. I think Liverpool with Caicedo become a little scarier, and I think I would be happier to see him not go to Liverpool, because if they have that guy who can cover tons of ground at the base of midfield and make up for the lack of balance they have front to back, then I think they become a bit of a tricky competitor this season that I would rather not see them get that.
Yeah, I think if you're talking about this year, I would worry more about him going to Liverpool. If we're talking about like over the next like 5 years, maybe Chelsea, because you kind of think about the age profile of the squad that Chelsea has accumulated with their like almost billion spent over the last 3 windows. I think that might be, you think about Enzo and Caicedo, like that's a midfield that could be causing troubles for 6-7 years, with just their ages being able to do that if they were able to kind of grow together. So this year, I would worry more about Liverpool. 5 years from now, maybe more Chelsea.
Yeah.
As I try to do an answer, say both, right? Like,
the question is, so are you familiar with cell mitosis?
I don't know if I have, no.
So cell mitosis is where cells split in half. It is the process by which, I believe that's right. Let's see. Cell mitosis.
I was never a biology person, believe it or not. I was more of a,
that's it.
person.
Cell division. There you go. So mitosis, stick with me here, because I think we're going to learn a little. This is Elliot's Science Corner, a new segment. So cell mitosis,
do we have music for this segment? You should get some, get Paul. Paul, we need some music.
Paul, we need more music for the Elliot Science Corner. So Elliot Science Corner, here we go. Cell mitosis is where the nucleus splits, and then you get more nuclei, and they split and they split and they split. Is it possible that what's going on at Chelsea is a process of cell mitosis, where actually they will just split into multiple squads, and there will actually be 6 Chelseas in the Premier League? Is that what's happening? Are they a zygote potentially, and they're just going to turn into something else? Is that the goal? Is that why
It's
they've acquired
possible,
these
right?
players?
When they have the second team in Strasbourg now too, right? So they maybe will just split into two different teams to be able to divvy up their talent. Like I just don't know how like they're going to do that. They have no Europe at all this year. Like this team is ginormous for the number of matches that they're going to be contending with.
Yeah,
No idea.
I mean,
no idea how it's going to work.
They have 100 players on 7-year contracts. They have 700 years of talent at their disposal. It's going to be amazing to see how Strasbourg does with all those players in the near future. Let's get something up here quickly because it is relevant to what's going on today. So I'm going to share my screen briefly, if that's okay with you.
That's fine with me.
Fine with you. Okay, there we go.
I mean, as long as you don't go on to x.com or something crazy like that, right?
I'm not going on X. I've told you, I don't want the FBI at my door. So here we go. This is where we stand currently with the lineup. It's Ederson, Walker, Akanji, Ake, Lewis, Rodrigo, De Bruyne, Bernardo, Foden, Alvarez, and Haaland. I mean, I don't know if I consider that a good team, but I guess City consider that a good team. Scott, what do you think? Manchester City, no Gundogan. It's a new future without him. And interestingly, Alvarez starts with Haaland. I don't think we saw that a lot last season. I'm trying to think of how they might set this up. What have they done here? I'm trying to make heads or tails of this. Have they just plugged in Alvarez and Foden in place?
So it looks like Foden has come in for Grealish for the team that we saw. And then who else? Where was De Bruyne next to Rodrigo? So is this kind of a 4-4-2 kind of a thing?
That's what I'm wondering, right? So what is it? It's going to be Walker. No Stones, huh? Am I missing Stones? No Stones, and Stones is not in the squad. So I wonder if there's something there.
Walker
Gvardiol is in the squad, though. Interestingly,
Walker and Lewis. So who's playing? I guess Walker on the left.
So maybe Akanji, Ake, Akanji, Walker, and Lewis. Like, who knows?
Maybe it's a back three
at the
with
base,
Lewis in midfield.
De Bruyne and Bernardo. So maybe it is a 4-3-3 with Foden and Alvarez in the eights. How would you set this up to be a 4-4-2?
I think
who would be the wide players? De Bruyne and Bernardo, or no? I mean, I guess
Foden, Bernardo would be the guys nominally on the wings.
So maybe that's it. Four center backs: Rodri and De Bruyne, Bernardo and Foden wide, Alvarez and Haaland. Who knows? It's always impossible to figure it out.
It's almost just if you guys want to do center backs here, right? Because it's just a Akanji and Ake kind of a center backs. Walker. And Lewis is more of a midfielder, right? He's not really, so it's almost like a back three, I think, where you're thinking potentially here. Maybe so then it's Lewis and then Rodri kind of at the double pivot. So if you're thinking 3-2, and then you've got De Bruyne, Bernardo, Foden kind of can kind of do whatever they want. Alvarez, Haaland through the middle. I don't know. That's if I was to kind of document it, I think that might be how I read it up.
Could be a back three. Yeah, it could be a back three, I guess. Walker, Akanji, and Lewis and Ake with Lewis, Rodri, De Bruyne, and Bernardo, Foden, Alvarez, Haaland, 3-4-3.
Yeah,
could be 3-4-3. I mean, look, this is
they're gonna have all we can do, right?
All we can do is spit out sentence fragments and hope that you guys in the chat know more than we do. I'm seeing a 3-2-5 here. Nobody has proposed 4-4-3. As Todd Bowley sits back and laughs at nobody proposing a 4-4-3. We're going to get into Scott's slide deck that he put together for a couple of things as we preview the season. But Scott, I want to ask you a question. I think it is a question that I'm suddenly coming to terms with. Was Declan Rice cheap?
Maybe, right? I think I know I was thinking about this morning also, that it feels like normally getting your business done early is a good thing to be able to do. As teams get towards the end, you get a little bit more desperation. You see prices kind of go up. So in general, you get more and better deals early. And it feels like almost like all of the deals that Arsenal have done have starting to look better as we've gotten a little bit more distance and seeing now some of the other comps, right? Like it's hard to imagine 100 million, a British world record as cheap. But it kind of feels that way right now. I was afraid that Arsenal would kind of set the market with Rice, and then we'd see Caicedo go for, maybe like 85 or something like that, and then maybe we'd think, oh, that's not quite as good, or we kind of got ripped off. But in hindsight, it really does feel good, right? And then you see Manchester City coming in for Paquetá, at some stupid prices that they're getting turned down at
10 million or something. Can I ask you, can I get galaxy brained on you just for a second?
always.
Thank you. Because I was going to do it anyway. So my galaxy brain take is, if you're Declan Rice going to Arsenal from West Ham for a British record fee, 105 million, no one's close to it. There's so much pressure on you. You've got that Nico Pepe situation, right? Of the price tag always being associated with your name. If Paquetá goes for 110 and Caicedo goes for 110, does it maybe take a little pressure off Rice in the sense that you're not that one big move of the summer where everybody says 105 million pound Rice, the way they said 72 million pound Pepe, because Caicedo was more potentially, Paquetá might be more potentially. Now you're where the midfielder market is. As crazy as that sounds, you were just priced at where the midfielder market is. You almost look like a value versus those two signings. And let's wait and see what Lavia winds up going for. Could this ease some pressure on Rice, that he's not sort of out there priced in the stratosphere outside of what anybody else is?
Yeah, and I think the other thing too is that I think the expectations for him, right? We haven't lost Thomas Partey as well. So I think that's something that is also going to really ease things, right? We have the opportunity where he may not start tomorrow, which is like crazy to think that, this guy that broke our transfer record may not start tomorrow. And I don't think anybody would absolutely freak out if you were, talking about that. I don't know. Would you freak out if, Declan Rice wasn't a starter tomorrow, right? If it was like Havertz, Odegaard, Partey as the midfield, I don't know. I wouldn't freak out. Like, I'd be like, okay, yeah, like he's still working himself. There's the reports that he's, only at like 80% fitness right now. Okay.
That showed in his last few starts, right? I mean, he was blowing by like the 60-minute mark. I think, this is a good question. I think it just depends on your fitness. I mean, I'd go with the rice crackers. It's a nice rice homage, and those are probably better for you. But who can ever argue with the Pringles? Just don't get your arms stuck in there. That's, really the key with the Pringles.
So do you reach into the Pringles thing, or do you shake them out?
No, you got to go all the way in. You got to go all the way in.
I have big hands, and I can't.
And
I don't have Donald Trump hands, and I can't squeeze them in there.
Tiny little pincher hands, yeah. So to go with my just general proportions. So anywho, getting off that,
you're swole, right? You got the big arms, but the small hands.
Yeah, I skipped hand day. I skipped leg day and hand day. I need to get those hand things. Pump it up. Someone's gonna clip this. If this isn't if this doesn't become a GIF, then this will be
a new thing for the Discord, right? This is gonna be a
GIF
new
live stream.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, real quick, if you do want to sign up for Patreon, I'll just mention this. We have 6 days a week of content on Patreon this season, but the Patreon episodes, the audio episodes, obviously not the video episodes, but the audio episodes are now available on Spotify. So if you've been like, I would do it, but they automatically come into your Apple Pods or Google Pods, but now they do Spotify as well. So, so my thing with Rice also is, look, when you spend 105 million pounds, you want immediate impact, of course, but you should not be spending 105 million pounds for what they can do for you in August, September, October. What you should be doing is spending 105 million pounds so that once they've integrated, you're a much better team, but also because you expect that to solve a position for you for years to come. Thomas Partey is still here, at least for now, and he's still very good. We know he will be gone for the AFCON most likely, that he is 30, that he will likely miss time late in the season or fade in late in the season. The most important thing with Declan Rice is Declan Rice a dominant 6 for us as that transition away from Partey starts to happen. And it doesn't have to happen Saturday. It needs to happen sometime around January, right? So that's the time horizon we're looking at here.
Right. And, you've all the stuff that's kind of coming out of Declan Rice and, coming out the reports is that he's gotten like a crash course in Arteta ball. And it's a lot to take in for a lot of people. And I think of the positions in this team, the one that has the most demand on it is absolutely the defensive midfield. You could have even, when Arsenal signed Thomas Partey, like he was, right at if you imagine the most plug and play age that you would get a midfielder, that was basically what Thomas Partey is, and it still took him an adjustment period. I think that it's just the position that you're able to do it. It has a lot of demand. So if you have the luxury of being able to work a player in, you have to take advantage of that. And I think that that is something that Arsenal have right here, where we don't have to throw him in. We don't have to have those kinds of expectations. I actually do expect him to play on Saturday. I don't know if he'll necessarily start. I think that's an interesting question, which I'm sure we'll talk more about in a bit, about, kind of our expectations for the lineup there. And I think there's a lot of interesting thoughts there. And it's not necessarily that there's going to be a lineup freak out, but I think there's a lot of good headaches that Arsenal now have in their team. The news coming out of the press conference today is basically everybody outside of Jesus and El Neni is healthy, or at least, able to train and ready to go. And like, that's a really, really good thing for we're able to have starting the season. And, if we can bed in Declan Rice for this next month, kind of have him do a job share kind of a thing, be able to do that, or mix and match, being able to, see what our opponents are able to do. I think that just sets Arsenal up for a very, very good position to be able to, have those kind of stretches where we aren't really hurting with a player missing.
Well said. Well said. Sending love out to the Disco Boys again from our Discord. If you want to be in there, to each their own choices. Choice is yours ultimately. I want to cover.
It's a fun. I'll say it's a fun spot as long as you go in with the right attitude.
If you're nothing, going with the right, yes, if
nothing is serious there. There is a lot of good-natured and some less good-natured put downs and being able to do that, but it's absolutely a fun thing if you go in with that nothing here is serious and everything is exaggerated. Love the Disco Boys.
You have to get into the culture. If you can embrace the culture, it's a beautiful thing. Let's keep going with some transfer news. Before I say that, I'm not seeing comments updating. Are you seeing comments updating in your?
I haven't seen anything since 11:18 my time. So
4
minutes.
So Mr. Boblex was the last one. So Scott, I'm going to ask you to do me a favor. Could you exit and refresh? I'll kick you out for a minute and come back and just see if that maybe gets your comments.
The wonderful turn it off, turn it back on. That always
try that, because I'd like to keep getting comments going here. We're going to cover a little more transfer news. Romeo Lavia, this is an interesting one for me. We did a scouting video on Romeo Lavia, and I think in American sports we say toolsy, meaning that like he's got a lot of good physical tools, a lot of physical traits that I think can translate to be a very good player. He's just 19. The fact that he's playing as well as he is means there's probably something really good there. But for me, Romeo Lavia is a player who I wouldn't want to bring in expecting him to play a lot right now. I think that for whatever team goes for him, if it's one of the big clubs, I think they're going to find that it's a work in progress. So two things, Scott. First, any luck on the comments?
Yeah, I can see them now. So I'm going to get here. We got
there you
Eddie.
go. Awesome.
I'm seeing
so you're going to be in charge of comments, because actually, if I exit and come back in, will that just end the live stream?
What? That means no. I think because I'm here, I have admin rights now to live streaming because I host the.
Okay, guys, we're going to try this. I'm going to do two things. I'm going to regret. I'm going to
leave me in charge.
In charge of the live stream for about 10 seconds, and then I'm going to come right back, and hopefully it doesn't end the live stream here.
All right.
Talk about Romeo Lavia.
Romeo Lavia. Actually, I was just posting some stuff on him earlier today. And while I really do like the player, I think that there's been a little bit of things kind of blown out of proportion for what he actually can be, or what the expectation around him should be. If I was a team that was kind of in the market for somebody, I would seriously consider a Tyler Adams, maybe even over a Romeo Lavia right now. Like if I had to be in a win now situation, because I think that there's going to be just a massive premium on what happens, after Caicedo comes out. And if I had the choice to, look for a bargain, I might actually, pivot to, the American of Tyler Adams. What do you think there?
Tyler Adams is an interesting one. I think he's a very good player. I think long-term Lavia has a higher ceiling, but I think Adams might be more ready right now. I do want to say, I am now seeing some chat, so that's a good sign. Hopefully everybody is still able to watch. Are we still live? I think we're still live. So that's good.
Although on my thing, it says the viewers is down to 3, but I don't think that's
there was
true.
800 viewers or whatever. Now it says 3. But I assume there are more than 3 of you watching. If there are not more than 3 of you watching, that's okay. We'll get on with just the 3 of you that are watching. What do you think of Arsenal potentially being linked with one more 6. This is one other thing that I wanted to touch on. Everybody seems to want us to get another right wide forward. Where do you think we need to go next?
I still feel like if we're gonna like talk about where positionally, I still think it is that attacking. I don't know if it necessarily has to be a right wing, although I think I would like that. I, I just you kind of think about the talent distribution, and finding a right wing is probably the hardest position right now in all of just world football. So I think that being able to get somebody good enough to where you feel comfortable even giving Saka a break is just going to be a very, very hard task. And it's not going to be a cheap task. So I think that's just something that's tough. You're not going to be able to really, I think, induce somebody to come in and say, oh, we'll be able to give you like 800 minutes like in the league, like to do those kinds of things. I think that's just a tough situation overall. I'd like to, be able to have that kind of thing, but it's like if Saka's fit, I think Saka plays. Like, unfortunately.
Yeah. Let's do this. All right. So first of all, start getting some questions in. Hopefully the comments will populate and we'll see them. We're going to answer your questions. But what we're going to do now is get on to a little bit of looking ahead to the season and predictions that we're going to make. So I'm going to add this up onto the screen for now, a simulated point distribution, Scott. I do want to make clear, if you have issues with any of the predictions, they are Scott's predictions. It is his fault. Blame him. I am certainly more than willing and happy to do that. You have Manchester City at 90.2, Arsenal all the way down at 81. But this is why I think distributions are a good way of thinking about this. If you look at City's distribution, let's say they had a slightly below the average season that you'd expect from them, right?
Yep.
And we had one of our, let's say, top 25% outcomes. Yep. That would put us as the champion. So do you want to talk a little bit about this distribution, how you come up with this and what it means and what it's trying to tell us, what we can see in the top 4 there?
Yeah, so this is something that it's built off of, there's 10,000 simulations that are run. So like this is literally the spread of the outcomes that happens over those 10,000 options that happened over the simulation. So on the good side, like Arsenal can push up to 100 points, like if things really, really break Arsenal's way like that. So I think that's one of those things that I think that people get mad at me. It's like, oh, you only think that Arsenal are going to get 81 points. Well, no, I actually I do think 81 points is about right, but that's about half the time Arsenal are right about 81 points, and that means more than about half the time they're more than that. Half the time they're a little bit less than that. They are pretty normally distributed about around the middle. As you get more and more into the later the season, you'll see weird kind of peaks and valleys up here, because that's just one of the things that happens with the 3-1-0 kind of points distribution with each match. So I really do like to see this too as well, right? You kind of see like the different skew of the teams as they go through the points here. And now we're looking here at the table with it gives a little bit more of the odds.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
This obviously presumes the teams as they are. Do you take transfers into account? So for example, Kane leaving Tottenham, what does that do to their ratings, for example? I mean, Tottenham are shit. Everybody knows that. Let's be clear. But what does this do to to take into account transfers?
So I did add something for transfer. So I did do a net transfer spend adjustment here. So Tottenham selling Harry Kane for 100 million. Is it euros? I think that was what it was, or thereabouts. So that will absolutely come in and do an effect. The funny thing, though, is when I've done research on this, is that transfer spend in the most current window has a pretty minor effect on how things are for the coming year. It's actually more interesting and better if you actually do it like on a 1-year lag. I think that's something that is a better predictor. The other one is looking at the number of like big signings, quote unquote, or big sales. Those are ones that will have a larger effect. I haven't gone into that granular of a detail here. If I was trying to bet on it, I probably would include more of those kinds of things. So yes, selling Harry Kane here would damage Tottenham's rating to go down a bit. And they're still just another kind of weird team. So yeah, you see, Manchester City do another big sale that would bump them up. Arsenal are already included here with quite a bit of their net spend, pushing them up. So I do account for transfer spend, but not something that I would call massive. So right now, like the biggest effects here are obviously last season's results. I do have it weighted more towards the end of the season last year. I also use the reported wages. So this is stuff that's actually published at Company's House, and that is from Swiss Ramble. So this is a bit out of date for the wages, but I like that better than trying to use something like Sportac or the stuff that's on FBref, because like I think you have to use all of that with like basically a whole salt shaker of salt to get any sort of idea of what the wage things are.
Yeah.
So I'd rather it be a little bit older and at least reliable than a guess. A wild ass guess at the beginning. And then I also will use information that comes from betting markets to do like kind of an implied strength overall for teams.
All right, guys, here we go. I want to take a break from looking at the data, Scott, and I want to do some questions. So
yeah, let's get some questions. There's always good questions.
Let's get questions. Give us your questions in the comments. We'll try to handle as many of these as we can for a bit. It is 30 minutes to the new season. We're now 30 minutes from Arsenal's first title winning season in 20 years. That's really, really exciting. Let's get this up on the screen. This one, presumably for me as the stats person. Do y'all have data?
Whoa! You're going to try to steal the stats guy?
Well, you're the civilian. You're the civilian. If you're not familiar with this, Scott and Paul do stats guy and a civilian over on Patreon, and Paul has claimed that he is the stats guy, and Scott is the
steals
civilian.
Everything, right? He steals. Let's do this. He steals the stats.
Let's do this. Yeah, we've gotten the cease and desist from James. Do y'all have a data set that factors in injuries and how they impact season results from beginning of season to end of season? Do you factor in injuries? For example, having to play holding a number of games last season, obviously that's going to change how we performed.
I don't. And I think that's something that I would love to be able to kind of do more of. I would like to like try to like break it out more of like individual player level. I just haven't, been able. It feels like the summers are like shorter and shorter for like when you're able to try to like get things done, because I try to do some of these projects in the summer, and it feels like the summer's been like 3 weeks and like that's it before we are back into things. So it's on my list of things that I'd like to be able to do. I don't do it now. I'm still relatively happy with however it comes out.
Fair enough. Okay, hey, before we get to the next question, just want to mention we've got over 700 of you across different platforms watching our first live stream. So thanks everyone for joining. If you can gently caress the like button and subscribe button, that would be brilliant. Again, we are we're in year 4 now of urging people not to smash buttons. The whole YouTube craze of smash that like button. Terrible, terrible thing to do to your devices. They don't need to be smashed. They have, in fact, quite high-end advanced technological screens where a very gentle touch can both like and subscribe, and we ask you to do that. That would be great. If you do want to sign up for Patreon, you are more than welcome to sign up for Patreon at patreon.com/ArsenalVision podcast, where you will get 6 days a week of content. And now those podcasts can actually go directly into Spotify, among other places as well. Okay, that's out of the way. Let's get to more questions. We did have one about the guitars. Let's see. Here we go.
Yeah, it was a while back there.
Got to scroll back. Is that a Les Paul on your wall? It is. It is a full size Les Paul too. It's not just a little bitty Les Paul, but it is a full size Les Paul. And if you're not nice, I will play it. Let's get, love this community. Love to you. Love you. Thank you. A lot of love for everybody. There's a couple here. Okay. Do you think a fast start of the season is even more important now with so many players on the move? I think this is an interesting point, Scott. Like, we got our business done early. We probably have more players integrated than others. I mean, City's still potentially trying to get Paquetá. Still kind of integrating.
Doku
Vardy just got there.
Right? Yeah.
Yep, Doku. Chelsea obviously still trying to get everybody. Liverpool still trying to figure out what they're going to do in midfield. Spurs will have to replace Harry Kane. Important to get a fast early start while these other teams are trying to integrate pieces. I mean, Manchester United got Mount, and from there they really haven't seemed to be able to solve a lot of problems. Højbjerg is injured. Højbjerg, is that what I said? Højlund.
Yeah.
Højbjerg. They might get Højbjerg too. You never know. Appears to be injured. Fast start important.
Yeah, I think obviously. I was looking at something from the analyst, so that's Opta's data analyst spot, and they put out basically the ratings for the strength of schedule for the first 5 matches of the year. And Arsenal have the fourth easiest start of the season. I mean, obviously they can't play themselves because we're the mighty Arsenal, so and that really helps our rating. So I think really being able to take advantage of that will be really important. I think that's something that absolutely helped us last year, was being able to go out there and kind of set that marker. And I think we all kind of tried to tamper our expectations, but if we're able to kind of match something like that, I think it would be being able to kind of put some pressure on City to be able to do it, right?
I'm still on the I've talked myself into the idea that we don't need to be on a 100-point pace to start the season like we were last season. We just
you
can't
gotta be on
get a 58-point
114-point
pace for the last 3 months. Consistency, and I think what we've done with our signings is actually positioned ourselves to finish strong, which we have not done for 2 seasons in a row. Whether we win the title this season or not will boil down to 2 things. Can we finish strong this season, which we have not done for consecutive seasons? And can we take 3 points off City somewhere? Going to have to do both of those things. Can you get your paws into the Pringles can? I can get my entire arm into the Pringles can. Whether I can get it out is another question. Couple of other things. Oh, yeah, I had popped this up quickly. How many games you play new 10? Last season, I made it to 3. I'm going to try to pump that up to 5 or 6 if I can this season, but that is pretty tough to do given that I am quite a bit far away. Might try to make it to another away game if I can manage it, because that was a hell of a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, I just had the worst luck. I was just in London last week.
Couldn't make it to a game.
And I missed going to the Emirates Cup. I missed going to the Community Shield by like a day both ways. So I could have already had my numbers pumped up quite a bit.
Yeah,
but
you got to pump those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers, as they say in the movie Wolf of Wall Street. Keith Bird, this is a good question. Trossard has to start, right? Question mark, regardless who he replaces. This is where I think managers have it tough. I don't think Trossard would be in my starting lineup tomorrow. If you want to create the sense of a meritocracy and the idea that playing well will get you into the team, which will motivate players to want to earn their way, right? Like part of the motivation for players is to fight for their place. Mikel had a really interesting pre-match press conference today in which he said, I picked the team based on how they train, based on their commitment. Football is a team sport. I want to see players who are happy when we win, regardless of what their contribution in the game was. But I think in order to maintain that harmony and that unified feeling, players that feel they've earned their way in need to be rewarded. So does Mikel almost have to find a way to reward Trossard, or is it enough that Trossard's just going to play a lot of minutes off the bench, whether he starts or not?
It's a tough question too, right? It almost kind of goes to the Smith Rowe stuff that we saw not last year, but the year before, where he was just so effective coming off the bench, being able to actually impact games. And it's like, I don't know like how much like it's just a results based versus somebody who is actually good at coming off the bench. I think there are certain players that probably are just they don't need quite as much time to get used to the flow and the state of the game, and they're able just to kind of come in. And it seems like Trossard has that. At least he has that right now. So it's like that's something that almost like works against him, unfortunately, right? Like that he's shown that he can do that, but it is also that he's probably looked like our best player like in the preseason. Like he is like
wherever he's played.
False
9, left 8, wide left. I mean, if I'm going to start him tomorrow, you know me, I'm not going to drop Martinelli. I also think Martinelli's role as the widest player in attack is something that Trossard doesn't do as well. I think he's more of an interior. I'd consider starting him at left 8. I'd consider starting him at false 9. If you wanted to play Havertz at left 8 or Rice at left 8, Trossard at false 9 would certainly work. We know that can work. Oh, we've got another question here that I think is a good one. I had popped it up on the screen earlier. I'll handle this for a second. Who would you want as Saka's backup? Great question. So we did a scouting video on Kudus, and I know he's linked strongly with Brighton. This is a tricky one. You've got to convince someone to come in where their role primarily is to be the alternate option for a guy who starts every game and plays 90 minutes most games, and who Mikel is on record saying
literally like the best right winger in the world, right? I mean, I guess it's like
we're trending that way. Yeah. And Mikel is on record saying the guy should play 55 games if he wants to be held in the same esteem as the best players in the game. That's why I think it has to be a young player coming from a smaller league who would be happy to get a group stage game in the Champions League here and an FA Cup game there and 20 minutes against Sheffield United at home here and 20 minutes against Luton at home there. And that's where I think Kudus might be that guy. Young enough, coming from a smaller league, has the kind of attributes that Saka has in the sense that I think he uses his body really well to receive the ball under pressure and hold it. He likes to drift from the wide spaces central, which is what we try to do with Saka. He's very, very left foot dominant. But that
almost
plays to what Saka
almost to a fault,
almost
right?
to a fault. Yeah, to a fault, I would say. Maybe a little too much hero ball, but it's understandable that he's playing hero ball right now, trying to show who he can be. A player who I could see going up to another level under Mikel. I know he has some injury problems, but he's also not someone we're going to be relying on, presumably. That's someone I would go for. I mean, you could obviously just say Reece Nelson, also someone with injury problems. And I think Reece has really been unfortunate because if you don't play in preseason, the manager tends not to be as sure if he can trust you. What about you? Do you think Reece will be that guy this season? Do you think we'll go for someone? Should we go for someone?
I mean, we talked about this already earlier, and it's just like I feel kind of like torn between two spots. That it's just so hard to be able to have somebody even close to what I expect from Saka, be able to produce this year. So it's almost like it feels like what we have inside of the squad is like maybe you put like Jesus as the right wing, or maybe you put even like Martinelli like going to that spot, and then you have somebody else on that left, and because I think Martinelli could be like an actual like winger on that side, right? Being able to go more traditional, he's right-footed, stay wide, be able to do that if we wanted to have Trossard on the left wing, more move that. So the right wing is the one that we're stretching wide, and the left channel is the one where it's a little bit more on the inside spot. It feels like we could solve that internally if we really needed to. It's still just a very, very tough one of like, is there somebody who's actually happy enough to come in and be okay with, cups and, maybe the last 10 minutes of games when we're, already 2 goals up kind of a thing. And that's a hard spot to be in. Right? Like what is Liverpool? What has Liverpool done with Salah? Like there's not really somebody that you can be happy and comfortable with on the right wing as a backup.
Yeah, I mean it is one of these tough situations, right? Because I agree with Mikel that the best players start every game, they play every game. It's what you expect. They play 3,500 minutes in a season. But if something happens and he can't, then suddenly, people are going to accuse Mikel of running Saka into the ground. That's the flip side of that coin. And B, of not having been prepared if something does happen to Saka. The thing that I'd say, ironically, is that our best backup right wing could be Jesus. And this is where I think we have an interesting squad situation, you guys. Like, if I asked you who our best backup striker is, it might be Havertz, who is our potentially starting left wing. If I asked you who our best backup right wing is, it might be Jesus, who is theoretically our best starting 9. But like, how do you feel about that, Scott? Like, let's say it's a game for our lives. It's a Champions League semifinal, second leg at home. We got a 0-0 away and Saka's out and Jesus is fit. Are you going like for like and starting Nelson in the Champions League semifinal, or are you moving Jesus out to the right and starting a Kai Havertz or starting a Trossard at false 9? For me, I'm starting Trossard at 9. I'm moving Jesus out wide, or potentially Havertz at 9 and Jesus out wide.
So this was a Champions League big away game?
Home game.
It's a home game?
Let's put it this way. It's a big game that matters.
Yeah.
Because I don't want you to overthink we're going to be pushed back in our defensive third. Or forget that dynamic. I'm just saying you've got to pick an 11 you feel really good about. Saka's not available. It's a crunch game. Are you going with Jesus at right wing, or are you going to trust a Nelson there and keep Jesus through the middle?
I think my first choice would probably be Jesus, but I would probably, honestly, I think my second choice, like for a starting position, might be Havertz there on the right wing, to be able to do that. And then you could almost kind of think like we have Rice, Partey, Odegaard in the midfield, and then I kind of like that as well. I think that's another really good team. I know when we first signed Havertz, or we were first starting to be linked with him, I really almost liked the idea of, he could fill in potentially as a right wing option to be able to kind of, be the backup striker, be the backup right wing, be able to kind of float between, a number of different positions. And I still think that that's a possibility. And I still am kind of enamored with that idea as something that is possible.
There are some rumors breaking, and I'd seen these a bit earlier, that Gabriel is not available tomorrow.
This is Gabriel, as in the center back, Gabriel.
Magalhaes? Yeah, yes. I guess
you got to be clear with that here, right? Yeah,
yeah, got it. Yeah, there's only Gabriels. 15 Gabriels at the team. A couple things. Terrifying. Hope it's nothing serious. But on the flip side, I think we have a lot of options there. So I'll throw this out at you. If Gabriel wasn't able to start tomorrow, I think the options are Tomiyasu, Kivior, potentially even Timber and Tierney, right? I think you probably not Timber, Tierney, unless he's going to go with the 3. Probably Tomiyasu and Kivior are the options, realistically. What would you do if Gabriel isn't able to start tomorrow?
Yeah, I am seeing people saying that it is false and it's debunked and it isn't here, but I think it's still an interesting thought experiment.
Debunked.
Debunked. I think that
it's the other debunked.
the other possibility
Rumors
here.
Fake news. Anybody else have any information on whether it's been debunked or it's fake news? Okay.
Yeah, and it's probably this option here that Ben Taylor here is bringing up. White at center back, Timber at right back. So you kind of just slide over.
Oh, that's an interesting point. But can White play left center back?
I think you move Saliba.
Saliba
I'd Saliba over to left. White center back. Yeah, I mean,
so this is my thing. This is a good point, right? Because it goes back to the Jesus point we're making. In general, my philosophy is, if you can make a change that changes less, and I think, to be fair to Mikel, I think this is why Mikel went with Holding last season. You move White to center back, then you have to move Timber to right back, and suddenly the whole dynamic starts to change. Or you could just keep White at right back where he's awesome, Saliba at right center back where he's awesome, Timber at left back where he's awesome, and change one piece and just trust Kivior or trust Tomiyasu. Yeah. And against Forest, you would have to be relying on that. Now, Tyler says Tommy easy. I have to admit, I like Kivior more than Tommy at left back, but I think I might like Tommy more as center back.
Yeah, I don't know. It's also been this preseason. I haven't come away impressed with Tomiyasu, right? He hasn't really put a question into the manager's mind, right? Yeah, which is understandable, right? The guy is coming off a bad knee injury, and honestly, I wasn't really expecting him to be ready at this point of the season. So he might be ahead of schedule for what he's actually able to do. Yeah, but I think if you're right, if we're thinking I think the other question is it just one match or is it multiple matches? If it's just one match, I think you do your thing exactly right. You just put in the like for like, next guy up, and we just we don't change a lot of things. But if we're talking about an 8-week kind of absence where you're going to see 10 matches where we need to be able to kind of do things, I think that's where you potentially are more open to doing the get your best guys on the field, not necessarily just the next guy up on the depth chart.
Yeah, well said. So, look, that rumor seems like it's been debunked.
But it was a fun thought experiment.
Yeah, of course, very fun thought experiment. But I got to say, I feel like we are less vulnerable to one of those kind of injuries, sort of destroying all our hopes and dreams. We definitely feel a lot more capable of getting through all those. So, yeah, Chelsea again, deal for Lavia. Let's do, all right. Gosh, there's so many good questions that I want to pop up and get on the screen here, but we're starting to wind down a little. And one of the things I did want to do, Scott, is get this up on the screen.
About the Forest, right? Yeah.
The game tomorrow. Yeah. So do you want to, here, let me get that banner off the screen there and get this off the screen here. Do you want to explain what we're seeing here?
So this is the, we talked previously about the simulation. So these are the things that help generate those 10,000 simulations for the season. So this is the match odds that we have here. Each of the numbers that are inside of the one that goes 0 to 5 on both sides, those are the outcomes of the goals scored. So the most likely outcome is in that 2-3 to 0 to Arsenal right now. So it is also really interesting. So Arsenal are the biggest favorites actually of all of the matches so far this weekend.
More than United home to Wolves and was it Brighton home to Luton? Yeah.
Or even City away to freshly promoted Burnley, which is a bit of a surprise. So yeah, Arsenal. This is one of the easier matches that the model thinks on the rating. Hopefully a good chance for Arsenal to go put a marker down. We're defending 2.6 expected points here. So lots and lots of times Arsenal should start things off with a nice win here.
Yeah, 8.5% for 5+0 is pretty wild.
Yeah.
That gives you a sense of just how big of a favorite we are. And as we wind down, we'll go like another 5 minutes here so people have time to switch over to the City game and don't miss Burnley's early goal. You wouldn't want to miss that. I want to pop a couple other things up here just quickly. Let's zip through this stuff about Forest. What do these tell us about Forest? This is the one that I wanted to show. Actually, let's start with this. Their attack and their defense. Neither.
Yes, this is the radars for the teams, and you look at the attack, and like it is pretty anemic. It's pretty interesting to kind of look at their actual schedule and their performances last year, because they had a pretty close to the worst away record of like any team like last year, or actually just really like in the Premier League in general. And it was just atrocious. I think they had 8 points total from away matches. And you kind of like, so they're able to get 30 points at home. But the really, really interesting thing is that they were not good at home either. So there was a lot of kind of smoke and mirrors that was able to do them. They just came up looking like just a pretty bad team. And defense, they're a little bit better than they are in attack, but they still were giving up a few too many shots than I think that anyone would have liked. Pretty easy to generate good chances against. And then I think we'll kind of talk about that more in the next ones, but like they are one of the least pressy teams overall. This is the weighted XG difference over the course of the season.
Bad.
So you can kind of see, right? They had that one kind of spot in the middle where they were decent. And then basically they spent the rest of the year looking pretty bad before they finished on a relatively strong part to be able to get themselves into safety.
Now we'll zip through these just quickly. That's their shot map. I don't think we need to break down.
They're not good.
Too much.
They create chances through the middle when they actually do get into the final third. I think that's because they are generally a pretty direct team. Looking at that, they build generally through the left. Is where they like to kind of go through. So, this will be a big test of the right-hand side. This is one that I think is, again, just really kind of illustrating just the absolute directness that they play with. So this is the number of passes that they average per possession sequence, and they were the lowest, the lowest of any team in the league. And then it's also kind of here looking at pressing. So this is the passes allowed per defensive action, and they were the least pressy team. So they're the most direct, least pressy team in the league.
This is a park the bus situation.
Absolutely.
Directness and pressing.
This is another one. So this is like the speed towards goal, like how fast they move up the field. So lower is faster towards goal. So they were not the fastest towards goal, but they were among the most fast.
Terrible at passing the ball.
Yeah, so this is an interesting one, I think, right? Kind of thinking about like how easy you are to pass against. So that is when you're looking at the y-axis. So up higher on the y-axis, so you'll see like Liverpool up there at the top. They're the hardest team to complete passes against, and this is looking at the expected model. So Forest are in that lower left quadrant of easy team to pass against and a team that does not complete passes well against you.
Clive popping up in the chat, just so we know Clive's here. The big man.
We got new music for Clive this year, right?
Given the plaudits, we got a new Clive intro. We've got a new Clive intro this season. And if you are on Patreon watching our rewatch videos and our scouting videos next week, you are going to see an epic new Clive videos from Chris Wood and Anthony Alonga stuff.
Yeah, I just want to really quickly say, like, Chris Wood, like, no, maybe we could talk about Chris Wood. Like, I just think that like that's kind of like been like their marquee signing of the, I guess Ngala too, but like I think Chris Wood is absolutely cooked, and I think he is well past it. Like, he just looks like a very, very bad player. So if he starts on Saturday, I'm not expecting a lot of threat from him to be able to danger. So, yeah.
All right, let's get some predictions in real quick. Scott, prediction time. Get your predictions in the chat. We'll pop up a bunch of them before we get out of here. Everybody, come on. Prediction time for City and Burnley. What do you got?
I think,
and get your Arsenal predictions in.
City 2-0. I think that's where I'm going here. I think they have a good control. I actually really liked this one here. Yeah, there you go. Vincent Kompany scoring off of the bench.
90 plus 7. Yeah, I'm going to say wild opener to the season. I'll go 2-2.
All right.
2-2 tonight.
Them,
I'm
you'll
getting
see some
love for
dancing on the
2-2.
sidelines, right? Yeah.
Yeah. We need to see the Sky lads dancing with the Burnley fans again. Burnley owe us one after being just unbelievable. See you next Tuesday is the last time they were in the Premier League. Here we go. Here come the predictions. Guys, give me your Arsenal predictions now. Scott, what do you got for Arsenal?
I think we're gonna see a pretty comprehensive, like 3 or 4-0 against Nottingham Forest. I'm very confident, very happy. I think we'll see all 3 of the new signings play. I don't know if we'll see all 3 of them start, but I think we'll be very excited to see that. I think we'll see a pretty easy overall performance for us.
Okay, I like that. Any last predictions in here? 3-0 to the Arsenal. Arsenal 10, Nottingham Forest 0. You know I'm going to be saying that, a calm 2-0. I'm going to go with 4-1. We always concede, but 4-1 would certainly do the job. 4-1 Arsenal.
Hopefully not a jammy goal that, starts the rumors of David Raya, coming in, right? We don't want any of that.
Well, he is coming in, so like it or not. Yeah. Hopefully not a jammy goal. I agree with that. A screamer from 35 yards out into the top corner can't be saved to make it 1-0 Forest, and then 4 unanswered from Arsenal. How about that?
So you want us to go down first? Oh, man.
No. I don't want that to happen. I don't. How about that? That can come in the 90th plus 8 minutes when we've subbed everybody off. Okay. We love you so much. Thank you for being here. If you want to hit a like and subscribe, great. If you want to sign up for Patreon, great. But more importantly, we're just happy to have you here, wherever here may be, whether it's on YouTube, on a podcast, at Patreon, in a disco. We do love those disco boys over on Discord, where you can meet those of us who do the podcast and chat with us and stuff. Happy new season, everybody. Like I said, we are 4 minutes away now from Arsenal's first title winning season in 20 years. And I, for one, am very excited for it. Scott's on Twitter at Scott J. Willis. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.
Should reference that we are going to be doing this, I believe, every Friday. We're going to try to have a cocktail hour, a happy hour Friday episode, live stream, whatever this is, whatever you kids call this. So gently caress your like button. We absolutely love you. We absolutely thrilled that you've been here. And we cannot wait to share the new season with you. So we love you. And we will talk to you after Arsenal 10, Forest 0.